Hello, just a little intro here before the podcast starts with Paul Boyle. This is Stephen, obviously. Just to say that, it's the 100th episode of the podcast. So I want to thank you to everyone who has listened to the podcast over the last year and a half or a year or so. Thank you to everyone who has interacted with the podcast, whether it be liking, retweeting on Twitter or sharing the podcast on Instagram. I really do appreciate it, and I never thought we'd do 100 episodes of the podcast when I started this. So just a massive thank you to everyone who's helped along the way. Here's to the next 100. We'll keep having the crack like we always do and enjoy it, and that's the main thing. So I won't keep you much longer, but I thank you again and enjoy the podcast with Paul Boyle. And now we're joined by Connacht star Paul Boyle. We're also joined by Sam, but no one really, that doesn't matter. Sorry, Sam.
I finally made the cut for one of the big boys now. It's usually Smurf and Westy, but
now we are lucky enough to be joined by Paul Boyle. Paul, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, delighted to be on. Thanks for having me, lads.
No worries. Yeah, look, I've reached out for a special guest for the 100th episode, and we're delighted to have Paul. No one better at the moment to have on for the 100th episode. So, Paul, we'll get started kind of in your early kind of stuff. You're a Gorey man. You're a proud Wexcan, I do believe. So it's great to see like a county like Wexford kind of not known for its rugby strongholdness, but the likes of Tyke Furlong, yourself, and Robin Copeland as well. It's becoming a stronghold, is it?
Yeah, no, there's a good few of us down there. Not maybe compared to the Dublin schools or anything just yet, but there's a good rugby club in Gorey. There's good rugby clubs across Wexford. So I started my trade there and played from kind of a 7 up till 18. Now I never had to play for the senior team, which was too young, but got all my rugby done in Gorey and loved every minute of it.
And do you see that continue to go from strength to strength down there in Wexford?
I think so. Yeah, like the numbers are increasing every year, and every time I'm back, there's more and more at the games and stuff. And I suppose seeing guys making the breakthrough helps younger guys start as well or keep playing. And there's a good base of rugby in the school. It's very much linked with the club, with Gorey Community School. But over the years, they've done quite well. They won the second tiered junior cup in Leinster, and they got into the Vinnie Murray seniors, which is the second tier senior stuff. When my brother was playing there a few years ago. So look, it's improving the whole time, and I suppose it's just more and more guys playing and enjoying it, and that helps it.
And you're going through, it's the Leinster setup when you're playing there for club and for school. Did you grow up? Were you a Leinster fan growing up then?
Yeah, well, I would have been growing up, but I always had the affiliation with Connacht because my granddad's from League and Roscommon. So I suppose that was kind of bred into my dad a bit, and he always followed Connacht, so I naturally follow Connacht as well. So having that Connacht affiliation, I always hold on to because my granddad was obviously a Connacht man.
Not too bad. We actually had Luke Carty on a couple of weeks ago before he flew off to the States, and we were trying to talk between himself and Niall Murray and Buckley, who's the best Roscommon man. But now if you were stepping up as well, Roscommon,
I'll take the mantle. Dennis Buckley certainly won't, anyway, with the accent he has.
True. The move from the Leinster Sub Academy then to the Connacht kind of academy, how did that come about?
So I was playing Irish 20s, and for the Six Nations, Nigel Carolan was the coach, and then he got the Connacht backs coach job, so he didn't do the World Cup. But I'd done all the camps, I'd done the whole Six Nations with him, so he had a good idea of what I was like. And then kind of come Junior World Cup time, I was made captain. Really enjoyed it. Feather played well and kind of worked closely with Colin McEntee, who at the time was, I suppose, the underage David Lucifora, and I worked closely with him, and he gave me a few tips and pointers rugby wise and then outside of rugby and on where I was leaning. And then about a week after the World Cup, Eric Elwood rang me and asked me if he wanted to come up and visit. So I went up and visited, met Eric, met Nigel again, and had a tour of the place, and they offered me an academy contract, and I suppose I haven't looked back since.
So it's Agent Nigel over there, is it? Poaching players when he sees them on the junior setup. It's like,
yeah, he's cute. Nigel's good.
Yeah, you hear so many people talking about it coming through Connacht and how much of an impact he's had on them and stuff. So it's nice to hear that he's stealing a few hot prospects from the under-20s setup.
Nigel's a legend and a serious coach as well. So whatever he chooses to do next year, I'm not sure what he's at, but any place will be lucky to have him.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you move up to Connacht then, and it's Wexford to Galway. It's not the easiest of journeys. Like I've driven it a few times. It's not just down the road. It's not like you're going from Athlone or something. Like you say, you had a bit of a Connacht kind of leaning when you were younger, but were you familiar with Galway, or like moving up to Galway, and what was the move like?
No, I suppose it was a big move. I lived in Dublin for 2 years out of school as I was in college there. So I was kind of used to being away from home. But Galway's a great spot, and it's obviously way different to Wexford, but it has the same community aspect to it. And although it's a city, it has everything. It's the community aspect I loved. And as soon as I got here, I was made feel welcome. And you're walking around the place, and there's always a hello and a wave, which I suppose it isn't like in Dublin. So I love that side of it as well, and I really, really love Galway.
Yeah, and on your time off, like spending it in Galway, what sort of other outside hobbies and interests do you have? I know a few lads would be playing golf, or seems to be a big thing in the Connacht setup is if you're involved in barbecuing or something, because everyone on Instagram's forever barbecuing and cooking massive pieces of meat. What do you do?
Yeah, I think that's a few lads whose agents managed to get them a barbecue or in a deal with a butcher or something. But no, just in the off time, I suppose I do a lot of golf. And particularly in that pre-season time when there's no games at the weekend, to kind of give us a bit more leeway to go play a game of golf, even though Dave Howard, the S&C coach, kind of has a little bit of a stipulation that you have to get a buggy for playing for load reasons and stuff, which we're not complaining about. But yeah, I play out in Barna. The guys out in Barna are great. They look after us, so I love playing out there.
You'll have to come join. We've invited Porchy along to our Master of None Open Invitational. You'll have to come along now in the off season, play out in Craigmore with us.
Oh no, I definitely will. I actually played a load of golf when I was younger, so like it was decent at maybe 16 or 17, but playing less now and only kind of during the summer, I'm not as good, but I love it.
Don't worry, playing with us, it'll help your ego. Don't worry, you'll feel a lot better about your own game. I did some Googling, Paul, on Gorey. I did what to do in Gorey, basically, the top 10 things to do in Gorey. So I wanted to, on your recommendation, I have two places. I'm there in Gorey for one day and one day only.
Okay, yeah.
Do I go to the Kia Ora mini farm, which sounds off the bat,
which is right beside my house?
Right beside your, well, then we could be onto a winner already. Or do I, if I'm feeling a bit more dangerous, do I go to the indoor pistol and rifle range?
One of my good friends runs the place, and I 100% recommend that.
Two best spots.
Paul Walsh's name is, he's the owner of that, and he's a legend. But he runs that. It's what does he say? It's the only indoor shooting range open to the public in Ireland.
There you go.
But he has unbelievable guns in there. It's a brilliant setup, and I've been in there loads. I love going in. It's a right bit of crack, and it's something different.
So there you go. Anyone listening?
Kiora mini farm now, maybe not, but the gun range, yeah.
That's fair enough. So to get into now. I think it was a JP Cooney. I don't know. You were never on the same team?
Yeah, no, I know JP well. I was there my first year there. He was around.
Yeah, he seems to be big onto the rifle range as well on his Instagram and stuff. So you can get him.
Yeah, he loves it. Well. He actually, his gun license renewal got delivered to my house the other day. I don't know if he's trying to keep it away from his missus or what he's doing, but it's delivered to my house.
Well, now he's outed. He's been outed on the podcast.
Yeah. You mentioned there just before with Nigel Carlin saying that you were on the under-20s, you were captain of the under-20s in Rugby World Championship. What's it like to captain your country at that age and to go to like a Rugby World Championship at under-20s? You see so much media coverage about, the senior side of things and the fully professional game, but at an under-20 level, what's that experience like?
Yeah, it's daunting enough. I suppose you're still so young. I was 19 or 20, and it's the first time that you get proper media coverage. But at the same time, like I said, I played with Gorey the whole way up, and from about under-10s or under-12s, I was always the captain. So even though it's not at the same level, let's say under-16s and Gorey, it gets you used to the actual captain's role. So the only thing that changes really is maybe the interviews or something, but the actual on-field stuff and team stuff doesn't change at all. So it's kind of, I got good practice growing up at being captain. So it was a little bit daunting with the interviews and stuff, but it was seamless enough rugby-wise.
And just going off to like a tournament like that, is it similar to the World Championships, like the World Cup and stuff, where you go off for a couple of weeks and bunk with the lads and travel around, or how does it work? Yeah,
so we were over in Georgia, and there was 4 teams playing in a place called Kutaisi, and all the other teams were in Tbilisi. So Tbilisi is obviously a big, modern enough city, but Kutaisi was a small little village. But they built a hotel just for the Rugby World Cup, and it was an unbelievable hotel. So even though I suppose there was a lot of poverty around and stuff. We were well looked after in the hotel, but what I couldn't get over about Georgia was the people and how humble they were and how happy they were for us to be there. And even when we were training, there was kind of crowds not really allowed watch, but they were kind of watching from a distance. And any Georgian person I met was just so sound. And my dad was over there as well, and he would have said the same. And he has some great memories over there.
What were the other teams in the hotel with you?
There was no one actually in our hotel. They've actually built a couple of hotels, I think, but Italy, Scotland, and New Zealand were the other teams there.
Not too bad.
We'll move on to your kind of early Connacht career, Paul. Under Kieran Keane, you didn't really get too much of a look in, but then you seemed to kind of explode onto the scene when Andy Friend arrived into town. Was that just like a coming of age thing, or is there anything particular with Andy Friend that he sees in you or that you saw in him that helped you kind of step up?
Well, my first year in there it was my first year in the academy, and for the whole pre-season, I was training with the academy with Mossy Lawler and Ambrose Conboy. So I didn't really get a chance to kind of show the senior coaches what I could do. And then I started training in September, October, and I got my chance in January. But again, I was kind of a younger guy coming through, so I didn't really get my opportunity. But then when Friendy came in, I had the whole pre-season with the seniors, and I suppose I really worked hard in that off season before. But got a chance to show what I could do in that pre-season. And Friendy, I remember, quoted at the time in some article that it didn't matter what age you were once you're good enough. So with that mindset that he had, that's going to help younger players coming through. And that's been a thing that he's done throughout his stay here, is he's given younger guys a chance to show what they can do. Yeah,
I think he said early on about you, I was looking at a few interviews with him about yourself, and he said you're a student of the game, and he saw that. Do you enjoy like the training and the nitty gritty and the learning about it? Are you the type that would study rugby and watch whatever's on, or are you the type that shuts off from rugby completely?
No, I do enjoy watching rugby, but I suppose the biggest thing on that for me would be, I always say I love honest feedback or any sort of feedback from a coach, because if I get that honest feedback, even if it's something that maybe they think I don't want to hear, I actually do, because for example, if my tackling is bad, I want to know about it, or I want to know how I can get better. So I think where he's coming from on that is I'm always going to him for feedback and stuff. And like I said, even if it's stuff that I'm particularly bad at or need to work on, and he thinks I don't want to hear, I love hearing it so I can go and improve on it.
And he's receptive to that as well, because he always comes across as such a understanding and a nice bloke in interviews and after games and stuff. But is he a coach's coach when in the background? Like, he'll eat the head off you if you make a mistake, or he'll pat you on the back if you're doing well, sort of thing?
He's a good balance. I've never seen him eat the head off someone, but when he's not happy, and he doesn't need to roar and shout, but he lets it be known that he's not happy. And I suppose the best thing about Friendy is anytime I go into him, he does give me that honest feedback. He's just straight to the point, and that's how I work best. So I think that's why we work well together.
Well, now especially with his leg injury, he can't really run away from you. So that's one thing about the leg injury.
Yeah, give him a dig as well. Yeah,
on the way out. Yeah, it didn't take you long to become captain as well of Connacht, or at least on a few appearances. You've obviously been captain on the radar. Was it something that you kind of wanted to aim for? Is it something on your radar, or is it just something that kind of comes naturally?
It wasn't something I was necessarily aiming for, even I suppose as far as last year. But we have a leadership group vote at the start of the year, and when I got voted into that, it kind of made me think, geez, this could be a thing. And then when Jared isn't playing, Friendy just seemed to make me captain. So, and I love doing it. Again, it's a small bit more challenging, and that you have to think about a little bit more. If you do think about how you're going to deal with the ref, what you're going to say pre-game, during the game, get your messages right. But at the end of the day, and it was actually John Muldooney said this to me. He said, as a young captain coming in, it doesn't really matter what you say. Nearly the less you say, the better. It's about how you lead by example, and it's what you do on the pitch, particularly as a young captain coming in. That's what speaks the most about you as a captain.
This week, we're starting with the Rainbow Cup, and the captain's referral is one of these trial laws coming in. We've spoken about it every week, because we talk about the Southern Hemisphere rugby quite often on this podcast. Have you looked into captain's referral, what your sort of tactics are going to do? How do you talk to coaches about that? Or is it kind of a wait and see job with that sort of new thing? Like, no one's really got much experience of it.
It's gonna be a tough one, because I think you only have 30 seconds to act on it. So up until the last 5 minutes or something. But if you only have 30 seconds to act, You're not going to be able to get messages down from the coaches if they've seen anything. And then you're going to have to try and sieve through, like, because you have guys coming up to you the whole time in games. Oh, he did this, he did that. So it's about sieving through what actually we can use, because we only have the one and it has to be successful. So I'd say it'll be see how we go the first couple of games and we'll know more then. But it is a good idea. There's a lot. It's very frustrating these days dealing with refs on those issues, because I'd go to a ref and say there was a dangerous act there, but he just says that the TMO was checking it. So either the TMO is checking everything rather than actually going and asking the TMO. So it's kind of frustrating. So the captain's referral would be good. It's just you don't want to waste it early or listen to guys give out the whole time. And
would you be able to captain's referral on whether or not the ref had said that was their final warning before halftime, or?
Oh, Jesus, I know.
Too soon, Sam. Too soon.
No, we're not bitter on this podcast at all. But no, you said a good point there. Like it came up in one of the games in New Zealand a couple of weeks ago. Ardi Save made the point that his head was in the bottom of a ruck, and it was 20 seconds before his fly half told him that he was clotheslined, and he hadn't the time to go up and talk to him. So, it's going to be such a fine balance when it comes in. It's going to be something to learn from. But at least you're in a position now this weekend where you're all doing it for the first time together. And actually, for Ulster, they're doing it this weekend, and then they'll have to forget how to use it for the following weekend when they play Leicester. So it's probably going to be more confusing for them.
Yeah, but I suppose I can see where they're coming from with the 30 seconds. They don't want 5 minutes play gone and then your coach seeing something on the video and going asking the ref, which would just kind of ruin the game. But it'll be just tricky to get used to. But it's a good addition. Andy
Friend said in the press conference during the week that he had 2 pages of notes on the captain referral. Has that been passed down to you yet?
Yeah, it has, and there's actually a lot of reading in it. No, there's a lot of reading in it. But yeah, he does his home. He does his homework.
Yeah.
We're not gonna say whether or not you're definitely starting or playing this weekend. We don't want to get into the secrets of the things, but you have like Jared Butler around you, Bundy, Jack Hardy, Buckley's like one of the most capped Connacht players. Beelam's been there for years. That sort of leadership group, like you say, how do they help you when you're such a young captain coming into like preparing for a game? Is there some players that would be actively helping you, or do you seek out the aid of other players, or how does that work?
But it just, as a captain, you can't think your opinion is the only one that is right. So you look at guys and say, against Leicester, Jack Harty was the attack leader and Noah Masterson was the defence leader. So then you go to them if there's any issues on attack and defence, and that just spreads the load a bit. But yeah, there's a lot of guys, Bundy, Jared, whoever. Usually if they talk, they have something to say that's worthwhile, so you just listen to them as well.
Is there something about being a captain or the captain's preparation that the average fan wouldn't know about? Something that you do week in, week out that never really gets spoken about?
It's more so clips sent to the referee beforehand. Now, I wouldn't be part of that as captain, but that's more, say, if the forwards coach wanted to send something about them all, but it's just been aware of those clips and aware of what our coaches have told the referee to look out for. So that if it happens in the game, I can be quick with it and say, look, we sent you these clips. You told us you're going to look out for this, and you haven't. It's more that, but no, nothing in particular. Just being aware of everything that's been said to the ref during the week.
Would you ever get a sense from a ref like, you sent me these clips, but I'm not looking out for it because I'm not being taught how to do my job? Or most of the refs seem to be, are they personable enough? Like,
oh no, yeah. To be fair, most of the refs are sound. And like if they get a clip from, say, Jimmy as forwards coach, Jimmy's not going to be sending the clip that's not worth anything. He's going to be sending the clip that is a penalty or is a trend that they have. So the referees they're looking to have the cleanest game possible. So no, they're usually fairly receptive of it.
Oh, unfortunately, we do need to chat about the Leicester game. As Connacht fans, we probably have to address it. But is it good to have 2 weeks off after a tough loss like that, or would you rather get a game straight away to get back on the horse, kind of thing?
No, game straight away. This has been a tough 2 weeks. That was a big game for us. And we put a lot of heat on getting a good performance out, and we spoke about like the likes of Jimmy and Nige leaving and trying to win silverware. So it was a big letdown. Yeah, I would have much rather just have a game the next week because it's been hard stewing on it for the last 2.
Yeah, and then like you're coming off. We had a brilliant season, some absolutely sensational results. Great away performance and stuff. Then 1 or 2 games towards the end where it might have been a lack of numbers, or it might have been just taking the foot off the gas or sort of thing. But how does like a senior player? How do you look at those last couple of weeks and, you know, gear yourself back up for the Rainbow Cup, not knowing what's going on? Like what sort of preparation goes into that? Have you taken a break and go into a mini preseason, or do you just kind of keep going as per normal?
The coaches, in fairness, have done something good on that, in that Friendly's given each individual coach something to focus on for these last 6 games, and it's not necessarily a change, but something really to focus on. So obviously Pete has taken a defense focus, Nige attack, and so on. So it's given us, say, 4 focus areas, and again, not for motivation, but just something to really concentrate on and keep the energy high, and not quite something new, but something a bit different, and it just gives us a change of perspective.
So do you think the coaches look forward to a week or 2 weeks off compared to a player? They have more time to sort of narrow down things?
I don't know. Coaches do so many hours, and it's only when you see them coming back from away trips and stuff, they're already on the laptops dissecting the game and prepping for next week. So 2 weeks off probably isn't good for them, and they're just doing more and more study.
Yeah, true.
Is there anyone like from the current squad, yourself included, that you see like has that coaching brain on them, has the will to just keep going and keep learning, and, you know, not just shutting off when games are over? Like, is there anyone you could see in a couple of years' time being the next Nigel Carlin or Jimmy Duffy? Like they're 20 odd years in Connacht or 25 years in Connacht.
Yeah, from a forwards perspective, I would say Owen Masterson. He's the type of player that just, if you ever have a question, he knows it. He knows every law. He knows all of our moves, all the opposition moves. He just knows everything about the game, and he's really, really smart on it. And he'd have the discipline side as well. He'd be well able to tell a guy off if he's doing something wrong. So I think he could be a really good forwards coach. And then I know from speaking to Tiernan O'Halloran, who's backs coach in McCall Regions, that he definitely wants to do something coaching wise after rugby as well, and he'd be very good with the backs.
Is it something you'd want yourself maybe in the future, Paul?
I thought about it, and I don't know. It's definitely something I'll look at. Whether I end up going and doing it, I'm not sure, but it's definitely an option.
You're still very young. There's no need to really think about it too much yet.
Yeah, exactly.
You scored a fantastic try against Leicester. You kind of spotted a lack of pillars, which was sort of a theme throughout the game, but you met that space and you spotted the space. That comes from Nigel Carlin, doesn't it?
All from Nige, yeah, all from Nige. No, but just against a team. It was actually my brother, who's actually 4 years younger than me. And I remember I might have been 16, he might have been 12, and I saw him do it. And I'd never seen anyone do it before, that kind of pick through the ruck. And then I just started doing it myself. But against a team with really good line speed and a physical team that want to get in your face, they sometimes forget about those little pillar defences and their spacing around the ruck. And the way we look at attack, that Nige has said, there's space through them, around them, or kick in behind. There's going to be space somewhere. And when they have the other 2 spots covered, space through them is going to be on, and through the ruck is where they were slightly weak.
Do you ever get the little temptation just to stick one over the top or through in behind, put the boot to ball? No?
I did it a couple of times underage. I'd say the last time I did it, I was maybe 16 or 17, but I haven't done it in a professional game yet, and I think I'd get fairly eaten if I did. So unless it has to be done, I won't do it.
But you seem to be fairly good with the old going around them, like that try, the break off the back of the scrum against, I think it was Benetton at home this season. I think he scored a hat-trick that day, but you broke off and you ran probably 30, 40 yards, a good bit of pace. Like, you know, new signing coming in from Australia, John Porch, Ben O'Donnell, we team full of pacers, but do you fancy yourself in the back 3 at all, or is it sticking to the back row?
Oh, I think I'll stick to the back row, and I wouldn't mind a couple of catches at fullback if they were kicked long to me and just have a full run up. But if it was a contestable high ball or I had to put in a little chip kick, I don't think I'd fancy myself. Yeah,
you can always get yourself on those meters gained, that stat. It's always a fullback.
Some of those stats, that's the thing. Some of those stats, if it was meters after contact, maybe it'd be more effective. But the meters gain thing, it suits the fullbacks.
Yeah, he always sees. Tiernan O'Halloran had that. I think he had that for about 4 years in a row. It was like most meters.
That's what I say to him as well. He's running sideways for most of them.
Stats count, though. Stats count.
Yeah.
You've already spoken kind of about Nigel Carlin, and we now know that Nigel and Jimmy Duffy are leaving the club at the end of the season. Can you just kind of speak on, you know, their impact on the club and yourself personally?
Huge impact. I suppose I've spoken about Nige there, and he's a brilliant coach, and you can see that from our attacking rugby this year. We scored some really good tries, and particularly when there's a dry ball, we really attack well. And then Jimmy has taught me a lot since I've got in, and again, he'll give you honest feedback and he'll tell you how it is. And if something's not up to scratch, he's the first man to say to you. But they've both been so helpful, and wish them the best of luck with whatever they do, because they will be missed in Connacht, and they've given so much. So it'd be interesting to see where they go now.
And you mentioned earlier that you played under Mossy Lawler at underage as well, and he's obviously coming through into the senior team. Are you excited for a few new voices around? Like, obviously this is in no way a criticism of either of the coaches, both brilliant coaches, but sometimes a change in voice can be a good thing as well. Just, change up the ideas and just get something new and fresh in.
Yeah, something new and fresh is always good. And I remember when I came to the academy first, and Mossy was leading it up. I was just straight away, I was like, this is the best fella I've ever worked with. And I remember thinking that, and I said, how is he not with the seniors? So I'm delighted for him to get his opportunity. He's brilliant. He's harsh at times. He really comes down hard if he's not getting what he wants. But again, that's needed in professional rugby. And then with Cully as well, this season I've worked really closely with him, and kind of after training sessions, working on my craft and stuff, and he's just been really helpful in that. So looking forward to having both of them there.
Yeah, we've spoken about a few negatives, but there was loads of positives throughout the year, including an incredible win against Leinster in Dublin, which doesn't happen too often around these parts. How exciting is it for you as a player, and even within the team? Like, the potential is huge within this team, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's probably the most frustrating part, because you can see the potential, and it's been inconsistency both within games and between games that's let us down this year. But yeah, no, the potential is there. We've got some brilliant tries. We put in some great performances. It's just about putting back-to-back performances together. And if we do that, we have 6 games here now in the Rainbow Cup. And then we have obviously building into next season. But the base is there. It's just putting stuff together now, and we'll be a really good side.
Yeah, like you see it all season. We've talked about the potential that's there. There's some unbelievable play, open play, broken play, like scramble defense, good defensive systems looking in place, and like the defensive maul against Munster was absolutely sensational. I've never seen anything as dominant. But then, like, you push Racing and Bristol close, like 2 absolute Galactico teams, and I know obviously the results weren't the best results in the end. You didn't come away with the wins, but to push 2 teams that have like seemingly unlimited budgets and play such like famous brands of rugby that close, you must take a lot from that. Like, and how important is it for a team like Connacht to continue to just push in the Champions Cup and keep going every year, and especially like next year we secured our place, which is another great thing.
Really important. And the thing I hate the underdog tag of Connacht, and I still think probably this season we're still living up to that a little bit. Like, I suppose all the press after the Racing game in particular was, geez, how well did Connacht do? But at the end of the day, we lost. And maybe I'm being a bit harsh in that, yeah, Racing have a big budget and stuff, but I'm there, and the team is there to win games and go as far as we can. And when we don't win, even though we push these guys close, it's still a loss. So it still hurts. And hopefully now next year we get another crack at a big team like that and actually beat them.
It's going to pump up a lot of Connacht fans right there.
I'm buying in now. That's
yeah.
the attitude. No, I've been kind of bigging up the chip on the shoulder thing for a while, but I'm fully with you.
And that's actually one of my biggest things. I hate that so much, and I can see where it comes from in that it's kind of a budget thing and a tradition thing, but that's not something I buy into anyway. I think we should be really competing and winning things, and the only way I suppose we can get rid of this underdog status is putting back-to-back performances. For example, this season when we play Leinster again, beating Leinster twice in the one season, and it's just putting those performances together, and that'll eventually get rid of our underdog tag. It's all well and good me saying it now, but it's all going to be based on performances. And look, we have a big opportunity to re-Interpros now, and if we get 3 good wins in the Interpro, that'll help the underdog tag go a little bit.
Oh, Sam,
I'm so like, I have no doubts in my mind as to why Friendy picked you as a captain when you've got me changed. You pumped me up.
Yeah. Me and Sam always argue about
I dropped him what it was.
Yeah, the brown envelope job.
Yeah.
I found my clip for Instagram and Twitter there. That speech by Paul is going to get people pumped. But no, look, there was acknowledgement after those games as well. Sometimes the decision making was called into question, and I think the team and yourself kind of acknowledged that maybe it wasn't the best decision making when it comes to those European games. But something like that, especially as a young captain and as a player, that has to help develop you as well, personally and as a player.
100%. There's learnings from every game, and it's always the bad decisions that kind of people latch onto and stuff. And for the Munster one, not necessarily, it's the Bristol one that was probably silly in the end and not going for the posts. My thinking on it at the time was that we were out of the Champions Cup anyway. Let's finish on a high. Didn't factor.
That's what we said. That's what we said as well.
Yeah,
that's what we said as well.
Didn't factor in the Challenge Cup. Should I factor in the Challenge Cup? Yeah, but at the time I was like, going into that game, I was like, win this game, we're going to get out of our group in the Champions Cup. And once that kind of dream was gone, yeah, lost the head a bit and went for glory, or it wouldn't have even got us to win, but went for bust in the end and should have taken the post. But look, they're great learnings, particularly as a young captain. You're going to make mistakes. I did make mistakes, but learn from them and move on.
But we've had some moments like that, like Gloucester, and then John Muldoon pulling the wool over the ref's eyes against Wasps and getting that try in over like at additional time or whatever. Like those sort of moments, they happen. But it's you said yourself, like it's what you take out of it, and there's learnings from it. Do you go into much detail afterwards? Like, do you sit down with a coach and talk about decisions, or do you just talk about the game, or do they focus on, positives and build-ons, or what goes into like your post-match analysis, like your Monday mornings or whatever it is?
So if we have a game on a Saturday night, the individual coding, it's got us up on the Sunday morning, so you can go in and watch the game and click on your name and see all the bits you've done in the game, from making a tackle to hitting a ruck. So what I do is I look at that stuff, look at my individual stuff first, and then I'd watch the game as a whole just to pick up any small things and get a wider view of it. I'd have a look at set piece, so I have a really good view on the game myself before I speak to anyone. And then I'd give Friendly a buzz, or if there was something to do with forwards, I'd give Jimmy a buzz on the Sunday. Or usually after a win, I say nothing and go in on the Monday all happy. But it's a lot of self-analysis. If you want any feedback from the coaches, they're happy to give it to you. But a lot of the time after games, you know if you played well or you did poorly, you know what you did well or badly. If you go in looking for affirmation off the coaches, there's probably something else going on. But a lot of the time, you know yourself. You should. The amount of footage we watched, you should know yourself.
And does the training reflect that then? Like, you come off a game and is your training on the field, is that work-ons, or is your training specified for the upcoming team, or what goes into a training then? Because you break down the match, but then you got to build on it.
Yeah, so the Monday morning review, which is the team review, you basically park that last game, and your training for the whole week is building on the upcoming team. And then from an individual standpoint, we have 7 minutes before each team session to work on our own individual crafts. So if there's something that you didn't do well the previous weekend, or something that you really want to focus on for the next weekend, you can go and work on that yourself.
Is it annoying then? Because I know most press conferences are Tuesday, Wednesdays, or media, it could be midweek, and is it annoying then when they talk about the previous weekend's game if you've already kind of mentally parked it on the Monday?
No, I don't mind. Just look, it's the only opportunity that the media get to talk to us. So no, I don't mind any questions. If I'm always in interviews, I'm always trying to be as honest as I can. So no, I don't mind it.
So, like, Connacht have signed some exciting players in the last year. Like, we were speaking about Abraham Papali, of the likes of Alex Wooten as well being joined. But it's been a difficult year to socialise and, kind of initiate a teammate into a team. I'm sure, like, compared to other years you would have. Have you found that? Has it been tough to sort of kind of get to know these new lads compared to what it would have been 2 or 3 years ago?
I wouldn't say it's tough to get to know them, but maybe on the deeper level that you only get when you have a few pints of Guinness. It is, but it's guys like Abe or particularly younger guys. I was talking to Jordy Duggan the other day, and he said he's never played in front of a crowd, and he has the guts of 10 caps, I think, at this stage. And it's a weird one because I was so used to playing in front of crowds, and some guys never have. So yeah, look, it's been a strange season, really strange season, but we're lucky to be playing, and there's a lot of guys that are out of work and stuff, and we're the lucky ones to get to play every week. So from a social point of view, yeah, maybe it's tough, but I think missing out on a couple of points is all right once we're still working.
Who do you be the social ringleader then? Like, who's the one for rallying a crowd, staying out all night, have to be dragged home?
There's actually a social committee that have been very quiet this year because we haven't been able to do anything. But I think Dom and Ulton lead that up. They're brilliant with picking different teams for nights out, dress up teams, and yeah, they're really good at it.
Have you done the dreaded Zoom quiz?
No, we actually we had a Zoom in the first lockdown. We had a Zoom, and after 10 minutes, lads were like, I'm leaving. I hate them. I couldn't think of anything worse than doing that now.
I know, yeah. But have you tried any, any experimental ways to socialize that you wouldn't have? Has anything been tried that's a bit wacky?
No, again, because we're training every day, it's actually okay. We're getting our social fix. There's a few guys that might stay an extra hour or two in the changing rooms after just to keep the social stuff going. But no, there's very little you can do. I suppose I really enjoy the away trips now because it's 2 days with the lads. But no, we have to be so careful. We can't really do much. So it's probably just staying in the change room an extra hour after training is about it.
I think it was McCabe was living with Marmion last year, said during lockdown.
Yeah.
Marmion had him out passing the ball 100 times off each hand before bed. Like, you didn't do anything like that. You weren't out picking from the back of rucks, running into your housemates at all, were you?
Well, for the lockdown, I went home and I have my brother there, so I actually did more training than I've ever done. I think and again, I got the weights off Gorey Rugby Club kind of just before lockdown started. I rang them and said, you won't be using your weights in gym. So I had weights at home. I was going for runs because I live near the beach, and then I had my brother to do actually loads of training with. My sister even gave us a dig out, but yeah, no, it was good. Actually, I did more than I've ever done before because there's nothing else to do.
I did the opposite now. I did more eating than
yeah. We were chatting to Niall Murray and he said that he put on 10 pounds over lockdown, and me and Sam were saying we did the same thing, just not the same.
I think he was more 10 kilos.
10 kilos.
Sorry, 10 kilos.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He's ever putting on serious size. He was a string bean there last year, but his nickname is Fizzy, and it was a joke last year, but he's not far off it now.
Jeez. Yeah. You said you came through the academy, you moved to the Connacht Academy, and then you've seen Niall Murray, or Murray, I think it's pronounced. I think we were calling him Murray the whole time we had him on the podcast after we apologised to him. And then Sean O'Brien, I think we're on 3.0 at this stage. Burke's coming through, and Tierney Martin, and some unbelievable players coming through the academy that we're all really excited about. But how do you help settle them, like having experience coming up from the academy yourself? And you said you missed the first preseason, so like how do you bring them in? How do you make that as easy as possible for them?
It's a hard one to do. It's a good test of a guy when he's coming in from the academy to the senior squad, how I suppose confident he is. And again, you can pretend you're confident, that'll get you through, but it's how much you put yourself out there. Senior guys can see quick enough if this guy wants to learn or not, or wants to try hard or not, or if he's any good or not. So I suppose it's about putting your best foot forward as soon as you go in and having no fear and just going for it, because if you have any fear, guys smell it quick enough, and it's a lot tougher environment.
Yeah, and you tend to just gravitate towards someone with similar interests as well. Like, I know there's a traditional kind of view of rugby dressing rooms, which is fairly outdated now. Everyone's got their own hobbies and interests. People just tend to kind of gravitate towards, you have sort of smaller friend groups and stuff within the changing room.
Yeah, I suppose everyone is friends on a wider scale, but yeah, you would have 2 or 3 guys that you're probably closer to. But for those academy guys coming in, they're going to have their academy friends. It's quick enough making senior friends when you're training with each other every day.
Yeah, and I think we saw like Sean O'Brien, what he can kind of do last week or the week before. He really has a turn of pace. He looks like a solid player. And Sean Masterson, I think, has been unbelievable all season. I've been really impressed with him. Is there anyone else maybe a year out from blowing up that you think we should keep an eye on?
He's got a bit of game time this year, but Keane Prendergast, as soon as he came up training with us, we said, like, everyone was like, this fella's a bit different. He's going to be a serious player, and he's put on a serious bit of size in the last few months. So he's the one guy, kind of the one young guy that I'd be really looking out for. I think he's going to be very good.
Yeah, he's impressed now anytime we've seen him.
Yeah, we have to talk about, a potential Irish call-up. I don't know if you like talking about it, but all of us Connacht fans obviously think that you're more than deserving of it, and you're more than skillful enough to do it. Is it something that you think about much? Is it something that, or are you just kind of, you're still very young? Is it something like you kind of viewed that way?
No, I think about it all the time. I wouldn't be ashamed to say, no, it's my main goal in rugby is to get on the Irish team. And there's a lot of competition in the back row. There's a lot of good back rows around. And I'm just trying to, I suppose, work hard every day and add little bits to my game that are weak or are missing to try and bridge the gap that's there. And I suppose playing these 3 interpros is a really good opportunity to put yourself in the shop window. And if you play well enough in those interpros, you never know for the summer tour if it goes ahead. You never know. You at least put your best foot forward to get selection.
Would you not just leapfrog the summer tour altogether, go to South Africa, no?
Geez, that'd be some crack. I'd be on the midweek team as well. It'd be just a piss up.
That's a better one, I'd say.
Yeah.
You have you get any, like, you obviously you've eyes for Ireland. You know, we all believe that you should be in the team as soon as possible. But does any of the Irish coaching staff keep in touch with you, let you know what you should be working on, or how far away you are, or is it completely until you get the call up, you're in the dark?
From a personal level, you're in the dark, as in they don't make direct phone calls to you usually. Maybe the odd player might, but they would be working closely with our coaches. So Paul O'Connell would be working with Jimmy, and he'd mention players to him, and then Jimmy kind of mentioned it to you, and this is what you need to work on. But direct phone calls, no. But you are getting their feedback, and you know what you have to work on.
I think what they do is they send an invite in a barbecue thing. They send it
Yeah,
in the post,
yeah.
and then when you open it up, there's the invite, you're in. I think that's how it works.
I think that was last year's team. This year's team seems to be PS5s, is it?
Oh yeah, PS5s. Yeah. Did you get one, Paul?
No, I didn't, unfortunately. I have a PS4 from about 10 years ago that I haven't used.
Yeah, same here.
Maybe it's in there.
Yeah. We'll talk about the Rainbow Cup, because it's obviously it's going ahead, but not the way we all kind of thought it was going to happen. But playing Ulster this Friday, how are you and the team feeling ahead of that game? It's an Interpro, so it is an Interpro, but it's not the usual Interpro, is it? Do you still view it as the same kind of Interpro as it would be during like the Pro 14?
Yeah, we're still viewing it as the same. And then I saw a couple of things online about how these games aren't getting much press, but like we are literally treating it exactly the same, if not more, because of the loss there a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, everyone is going bullheaded for this game, and we're really excited for it and looking to put our best foot forward and get a good win.
Yeah, like we're excited about the Rainbow Cup. Any rugby on TV is exciting for us. We're up crack of dawn on Saturday watching the Super Rugby Aotearoa, and then we're talking about like the US rugby, Tier 2 rugby, whatever it is on this podcast, we'll watch it. But obviously a little disappointed to see the South African teams won't be participating in this version of the Rainbow Cup. I think they're doing kind of simultaneous cups. Are you disappointed with that? Did you want to kind of have a crack at the whip, see a Khaleesi get under his skin a bit?
100%. You always want to play against the best and test yourself against the best. And South Africa, after the last World Cup, are the best. So look, was really looking forward to it. Even though it would have been nicer playing them over there, I was still looking forward to playing them in Galway. But look, hopefully it happens now come September, and it happens with crowds, and it can get a real excitement going for it.
Yeah, and we spoke about the captain's referral a little bit earlier as well, but there's obviously the new red rule that's like fiercely debated. We've fallen foul to a couple of kind of red cards this season. Probably in the Interpros after the back of lockdown, and then more recently you had Butler and stuff. Like, what's your kind of views on the red situation? Do you think that the new law is something worth trialing, or do you think that it's diluting the punishment and the sanction and the obviously the need to try and keep players safe?
I think it's worth trying, because in my view a red should be for a malicious incident, so a punch, a stamp, a kick or something, an eye gouge, whereas a lot of the tackles I'm seeing now are, yes, they're high, but they're accidental. And that's my view on it, because I'm in the middle of it playing it, and I'm kind of worried that an accidental shot and I could be gone and suspended for 3 games, which I think is a little bit harsh. I can see why they're doing it with concussions and stuff, but anytime I've seen guys get concussions, it's usually making the tackle, not getting tackled.
Do you think there's a lot of people saying on the red card that teams will deliberately go out and actually, maybe not the best player will be targeted, or they'll target the opposing best player intentionally so that they can basically get him off the pitch? Do you think teams will actually do that? Am I being naive and thinking that teams won't intentionally send out?
No, there's not a hope of that happening. That wouldn't come into anyone's calculations. No, there's not a chance that'll happen.
And then the other law they're bringing in, it's actually my favorite of the laws. It's one of the things I think's worked the best in the Super Rugby Aotearoa, is the goal line dropout from a held up ball, or from if you touch it down as a defensive team. I just think that lately the kind of trend, you saw it with the Leicester game. Leinster have been doing it all season against everyone, is just picking and going inside the 5, and it becomes, in my views, like from where we're sitting, almost undefendable, because the refs seem to be pinging the defensive team for being an inch offside, but never pinging any sort of entrant from the side or falling all over the ruck and stuff. What do you think of that? Like, has it become harder to defend inside the 5? It seems to just be inevitable at some stage that there'll be a scrum and then a pick and go and a pick and go and pick and go, and eventually you'll concede.
No, it is. It's a good thing to bring in. It's very tough to defend. particularly against big heavy lumps. I'd love to see the stats on the amount of balls that are actually held up from it. Like, will it be enough to change the likes of Exeter's game plan on it? Yeah, I suppose if it's brought into the Premiership or something, we'll see. But I just don't know if there's enough balls actually held up to change people's game plans on it.
Yeah, true. We'll move on to, we got, as we put out on Twitter and Instagram, a few people came in with some questions. We'll start with the first one from a Connor Butler, who I believe you know. He's from Gorey. He's living in Australia.
This could be anything, yeah.
I did clarify with him on Instagram that it's PG, and he did assure me it is, but he could be lying.
Yeah.
He wants to know, how is Lockie getting on?
That's not PG.
Oh, no. He's
no, it's not. I won't tell you what it is.
Connor, you're in trouble. I'm going to write you back on Instagram. He was all like, he's like, I appreciate you asking him. And I thought
I had a feeling that question was going to come.
Fair enough. So we'll not answer that one.
We've one here from he's a bit of actually a local celebrity around Galway at this stage. Joycey, the Connacht kit man. He's all over all the socials. He's actually he's asked two. I'll ask you the first one first. Is why is Paul always so angry? Is there a history between yourself and Joycey? Or
I think I'm just look angry all the time with everyone. No, I don't really like Joycey either, and I hope he's listening. No, Joycey's a great lad actually, and I thought I'd get a couple of questions from him because he said he was going to listen, but he's a great lad and he's been around the longest out of anyone here, I think, anyone in the whole place. But he's a great lad to have around.
He also asked, and you probably know the context of this, but what did Paul do to Dell's Land Rover was his other question. Do you want to
so Dell always has his Jeep and he would park it up anywhere, but myself and Joycey went to the shop and bought L plates and put them on it. And then we realised that the L plates you can only put them on from the inside. So Joycey ran in and got his keys and opened up the Jeep, and there was in his boot, Joycey started throwing his clothes around, and I saw a big clothes basket. So I flipped the clothes basket, but the clothes were on top of a big pile of turf, and the turf went all over the boot. And Dell wasn't too pleased, but once he found out it was me, he didn't mind too much.
Who's Dell?
I presume. Is it?
Oh, okay, sorry.
I presumed it was Delahunt, and then when you said big pile of turf, I went, that's definitely.
Yeah, it has to be. And turf was putting it nicely. It smelled like other stuff that looks like turf.
I believe he goes home farming every day. He
does, in fairness to him, and like anytime I ring him, you hear a moo or his outlet giving out to him or something. So he's not lying either.
That's what, yeah. From someone from Cavan, I like to hear that. Ian then has a few questions, and you've already commented on them. There were pretty much there was a similar theme for Ian's questions. They're all Big Papa. First of all, what's it like to be tackled by Big Papa?
It's not that nice. I think I've only been tackled by him once, actually full on, and he's a big boy, so he hits hard. Now it's the carrying, it's tackling him that's a little bit harder because he's the biggest freak of a man to run at you. He's fast and he's obviously huge as well. Like when he came over, he was 130 kilos and not fat at all. He's just a big man.
I think was Conor Oliver described it as tackling a cement mixer.
That's a great way of putting it. Yeah, great way of putting it.
Yeah, that was the next guy. What's it like to tackle Big Papa? So I'd say that's even worse to tackle him.
Oh, horrific! Just go low and hope. Dive at his ankles and hope.
Yeah. The next one. And who has had the biggest impact on you in the whole Connacht setup?
Jeez, now that's a tough question because there's a lot of guys have. There's been a lot of guys. It'd actually
You can name a few.
Yeah, it'd be bad to say to give one, but obviously friendlies made a big difference. Nige bringing me up, along with Eric, Ambrose Comboy, who's now left the place. He's gone back teaching. I would have worked closely with him. Playing wise, then John Muldoon, I suppose, was really good to me. I was only there for kind of coming in his last year, but he was really good to me, and I'd still keep in touch with him. So I'm probably missing a right few there, but those guys have been really good.
The next one then is your favorite memory in a green jersey.
I remember when we beat Cardiff last year to secure Champions Cup in the sports grounds, the full sports grounds. That's probably my best memory as such, and that's the annoying thing. I need to have better memories. I need to have good memories, and we need to, like I said earlier, we need to start winning these big games. Imagine I could say my best memory was beating Racing, but next year.
The next one was any hints at a big signing, but as of 2 hours ago, Connacht have announced the signing of Mac Hansen from Brumbies Rugby in Super Oz. Do you know much about him? We were talking beforehand. You heard basically the same time that we did. Are you aware of him?
I don't know much about him. I've seen him obviously play for the Brumbies, but hadn't a clue he was coming and don't know much about him. But he looks like a good player, and if Friendly's giving him his backing, I'm sure he is.
Yeah, I think he's Irish qualified as well. I read his mum was from Cork, so that's obviously a great thing for coming into the team. Being Irish qualified could be pushing for places, because the more Connacht players we see pushing for places in the Irish team, the better. Any other big signings? Yeah.
I wish I had news for you, but I have a clue. That could be it. There could be 10 more. I don't know. They don't tell us.
A signing, can't you? You know.
Yeah, he might come.
Now that he's injured,
he'd only want 500 grand a year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll get a GoFundMe going.
Yeah.
And then, so with the questions here, the last two now, just from one of the listeners, Fionn, and interesting question is, who do you think is the most underrated player at Connacht? Because like I speak constantly, and Smurf, we speak on this podcast about players that Connacht fans rate and are underrated outside, but there's also probably players that ye as players rate and mightn't get the recognition. They do the dirty work.
Yeah, there's I suppose there's quite a few guys maybe that are underrated. Gav Thornbury has got a bit more recognition lately, but I suppose up until maybe a month ago I would have said he was underrated. But you've really seen him kind of perform to his best again in that Munster game in particular. Another man that's slightly underrated is Tom Daly. Like, he's having a brilliant season. Really stepped up this year and made massive strides, and he works really hard. So yeah, if I gave one to the forwards and one to the backs, it'd be those two guys.
Before Sam, you get going, who said it was okay for Gavin Thornbury to cut the mullet?
Yeah.
Who signed off on that?
Was it the same person who signed off on the back? Because
I understand he left the rat's tail, but the power was in the full mullet. He's only got a little bit of power now.
I think it was his girlfriend that made the final call on this, because
she's okay with the rat's tail.
Yeah, I know. I think that was the compromise they got to.
Fair enough. Sorry, Sam. Go ahead.
Oh, you're grand. And just obviously we spoke about having kind of people that you closest to in the dressing room. Who's your closest friends? Like, do you live with some of the Connacht lads, or who would you be going out golfing with, or who do you get on the best with?
Yeah, I live with Conor Fitzgerald and Stephen Fitzgerald. So it's a bit of 2 against 1 there and that one, but no, I got on really well with both of them. Dell, got on really well with Conor McKeown, who was here and is now gone. I still keep in contact with. He's one of my really good friends. But like, there's a lot of guys. To be honest, it's a really good environment, and kind of get on with everyone. And that's the way it needs to be when you're a team kind of playing for each other. You need to get on with everyone and need to be friends with everyone, and that is the case with most guys.
Would you have played with them, with like Fitzgerald and McKeown? I know. Would you have played with them at all underage coming through, or was it just kind of friendships from Connacht?
Conor McKeown was friendship from Connacht. I played with Fitzy with the Irish 20s, but it's mainly been with Connacht. We would have had a few brief, like we would have been on. He was in Georgia for a few days, I think, but it's mainly since we got here. So there's no one from kind of outside of Connacht that I kind of knew before. There's not too many anyway. Jack Ainger and Oisin Dowling with the Irish 20s as well, but no, it's mainly the guys that I've kind of met in here.
That's great. Well, Paul, look, we've kept you for over 50 minutes, so we'll let you go at this stage. But we really do appreciate you coming on. Honestly, for the 100th episode, it was great to get you on and get your insight. And I think all Connacht fans are going to be incredibly pumped up for the next Train the Pros after that interview. So we want to wish you the best of luck over the next 3 weeks or 3 or 4 weeks in the pros, and obviously continued success through Connacht. So thank you again for coming on.
Cheers, lads. Appreciate it, and well done on the 100th episode, and keep things flying.
Cheers, bud. We'll chat to you soon.
Cheers. See you, boys.